of public life, we will be calling those 6 places geo-economic zones, so that we know that it's a competition for serious Look, you could have 6 commanding heights industries across the 6 zones, specialization. And you see in Japan, in Germany, you see a whole region is dominated by 1 or 2 huge industries. You understand? And the whole economy and the sub-economies and the industries, they are around that. Nigeria, we are so blessed that these 6 zones, okay, could have been that. No, but we call it geopolitical zone. From there, we send our soldiers to go to Abuja and fight for money for our zone and all the positions. Who is going to be Senate president? Who is going to be this? This is what we've been wasting our time doing. So there's a structural problem, very deep one. Secondly, like you are talking about the indices, okay? We have some fundamental problems with our indices. Take inflation. I respect what they do, Kale and all his team at the Federal Office of Statistics, but I really pity both them and the country. Nigeria is not in a position to effectively talk about inflation rate. How do you calculate it? Depending on whose research you read, anything between 45 and 65% of the economy is unrecorded. It's what we call the informal sector. And that's where most of us participate for our day-to-day needs and things. So when you have an economy where you have, give or take, 50% is unrecorded, so how do you know what's happening in inflation? How do you know what's happening in the growth of money? How do you know what's happening? Nobody can tell me and you what is the net exchange between passengers and danfo drivers in Lagos on a daily basis. We don't know. Do you understand? And I can go on and on and on. So you have that kind of problem, number one. Number two, our inflation is unnatural. It's not economically driven at all. It's not market driven. Nigerian inflation is something like 50%, market dynamics, 50% greed. We just pile on this greed infested price levels, inflation. Everything you buy in Nigeria is about 30, 40, in some cases 60% artificially inflated. Let me talk about the oil, for instance, this fuel thing that is gone up. Certainly my own driver comes from far to my place every day, right? He was spending about 300 and something. Now he's spending 1,000 plus every day. I'm not going to be able to give him 4 times his salary. It's not possible. You understand? My income is fixed. I'm a retiree, okay? People who earn salary in Nigeria, because see, anytime the fuel goes up, a taximan told me before that, they love it. Because that allows them to take back from the economy 4 times, 5 times what they have lost by way of increased fuel price or what they are. Do you understand? Now, what we have in Nigeria is that the fuel has gone up, I don't know. Let's say the average danfo driver or taxi driver or bus driver, whatever, is paying 100% more on his fuel right now. But you are going to carry about 100 people in a day. You charge each of them 3 times, 4 times more. You have ended up compensating yourself for your loss 10 times. So do the maths. And this is how we set. So when you set this artificial price, it stays. You don't have a government that is challenge for government. Our government should look at our price dynamics. What are the things driving our price? How much of it is real economic dynamic? How much of it is greed, generalized greed? And try to deal with that. Look at the cost of land in Nigeria. Look at the cost of houses. Look at the cost of just about anything. The quality of life we have does not justify these costs. 200 million house, 500 million, in a road where as soon as you get out, the whole place is poto and mud and everything. Do you understand?
I'm just wondering, because, now that finance and CBN will appear, perhaps the senator said, look, come talk to us about the fiscal and monetary policies that you put in place. Well, many may argue that, well, since the budget faced some sort of hurdles before it was passed, but now that it's been passed, do you think it's a matter of maybe the next quarter you might see some stimulus and the economy recovering? Maybe when they begin to implement the budget?
If they implement, they're lucky or they work very hard, and I think they're doing all of these things. If they implement their stimulus, 500 billion, which is still small, if you know the scope of the problem that Nigerians look, poverty is traveling around this land, stopping from one bus stop to the other, from one train station, is affecting every village, every community, every town.
What should we be doing?
What we should be doing, quite frankly, is step back 1, 2, and look at this structure we have. Is it going to help us develop? Well, we can do one or two things. We can go on forever dealing with the bread and butter issue, foreign exchange and things like this and stuff. All our problem of foreign exchange is because we are not producing, especially industrial manufacturing. If you look at the breakdown of Nigerian GDP, if you look at the contribution, the structure of our GDP every year, industry is always at the bottom. Manufacturing is always at the bottom.
Yeah.
Then agriculture, our very ineffective agriculture, involving about 40 million people, when Holland has less than 500,000 people, they are producing almost 50 times more. Okay? Our agriculture, weak as it is, not modern as it is, very low productivity as it is always number one. Followed by buying and selling, which they like in budget language to call merchandising.
In all of this, I think where Chamberlain asked a question which I don't think I've been able to get an answer from you. Let me put it this way. With all this beautiful analysis, workshop, fora, symposium, people coming up with plans and how best to actualize it. For some Nigerians, they just want to see that maybe this government has spent 1 year in office trying to put up those plans and structures, and perhaps maybe the next year they can start to actualize them and activate some of these plans. But there are some key issues you have raised here, and it boils down to doing the same thing over and over again, irrespective of who's here. It looks like we've seen this before. People trying to put up plans and structures. That's what I'm getting from you. But there are some who still think that there are some bits of understanding that maybe some key sectors are trying to get now. For instance, now for a moment we just realized that I still want to go back to the solid minerals.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're getting to hear, sound bites coming from that sector.
Yes.
Once upon a time, anyone who is headed the solid minerals, you don't even believe that there existed anything as solid minerals in the country. What are those things you think you can proffer that will make us not go back the way we've always gone back?
Let me say something about solid minerals. Provided and as long as we are adding a lot of value, if not the full value chain. Look, if we're going to do solid minerals to just send raw minerals again outside, the way we sell raw this one and natural this one and crude that one, it's still not going to help. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff from this government. Despite all the problem they're having, people are getting poorer and everything, they are talking right from where I sit as a development economic technocrat, okay? This is all I spent all of my life doing, okay? I'm hearing a lot of good stuff coming out. This is why I say pray for them to implement. That is what has got all previous governments.
Implementation.
And I hope that doesn't get them. And it just means strong institutions, using the right people, being focused. Look, I'll give a last example. Look at China. We are now getting into bed with China very closely, right? Strong bilateral relationships and things. But we should be careful. I will ask this government, if they have not done so, don't assume. There are a lot of things they do that you don't know, until it comes up. But if they have not done so, this country needs what I call a China strategy. Don't let yourself be sucked into this, bilateral relationship they are far smarter. You can go on deceiving yourself. They are different league from us when it comes to thinking tomorrow, dealing with big strategic, shaping their tomorrow. So when they come with a country like Nigeria, bilateral relationship, we're going to take loans. They are coming here to do. I read the other day that Emefiele, central bank, says China wants to make Nigeria is trading hub in West Africa. That's scary. What does that mean? It means instead of us, well, no, I'm not sure that's what it means, but they have to be clear that what that means is not that China is going to do what we're supposed to be doing. We should be dominating the West African sub-region. 40%, 50% of articles and goods inside the home of a Ghanaian should be made in Nigeria, made in Nigeria. Do you understand? All the way to parts of Central Africa, the whole of it. Is this what it means that China wants to make Nigeria a trading hub? They are coming here, bringing goods that they've made in China, cobble them together here, and dominate the region that geographically, naturally is ours to dominate.
But it depends on the details of that agreement, wouldn't it?
Well, look, at the end of the day, you are not producing. They are producing massively. You understand? This is why I say we need a China strategy. China has an Africa strategy, the CAP, China, Africa, whatever, partnership thing. And then within that, they are picking out countries. And naturally, they picked out Nigeria. We are powerful. You understand? They have a clear strategy. China knows where it wants to be with Nigeria 20 years, 30 years from now. Okay? So it starts this bilateral relationship. Do we also know where we want to be with China 10, 15 years from? Because these people are smarter than us, I'm sorry to say. So we need a China strategy. We shouldn't just get stuck in and everything. And I think we made a mistake, not this government. I think it's from the end of the Obasanjo government, Yar'Adua and Jonathan. Why we did not join the AIIB, I still can't figure, I don't understand. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which is the Chinese version of the World Bank. Okay? They want to also have this huge, and it's huge. And they didn't restrict it to Asia. Britain is there, France is there, Germany, Western countries, major economies are there, against the advice of the US. Yeah? South Africa is there. Brazil is there. What were we looking at that? We didn't join as founding members. Because we can join later, but you join at a disadvantage. They have written the rules. The founding members have written the rules. And we are better off dealing with China within a multilateral institutional context. Now we are going to bilateral. It's usually the more difficult. You lose more if you are not smarter than the other guy.
All right, Mr. Bolaji Ogunseye is a development economist. Thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning. We'll be back in a minute. Join us again.